What's going on, you guys? Keith Carnes here, and welcome to another episode. Actually, I think it's the 7th episode of Conspiracy Theories, and this time we're talking about the Columbine Massacre. I've covered this a couple times in recent time here on my channel, and it always brings up great discussion, so I wanted to talk about a conspiracy theory that surrounds Columbine. Now, back when Columbine happened on April 20th, 1999, when Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, as you know, went in and killed 13 people, one teacher and 12 students, witnesses, survivors, started being questioned by police after the event had ended. The two shooters committed suicide in the library, and it was over. And they started asking if maybe there was more people involved that were never caught and maybe tried to get away. Now, there's been a lot of weird stuff happenings, people claiming that there was somebody on the roof. There's even a picture out there that shows what looks to be somebody in black pants and a white shirt, similar to that of Eric Harris, on the roof of the building at the time of the shooting, even though it has been by police. Police have said it was a repairman that just so happened to be on the roof when the shooting started, and he was on the roof and barricaded himself on the roof by shutting the door and keeping himself safe. I don't really have any reason not to believe that one, but a lot of people think that it was a gunman. Some of the people that were running away from the school at the time that the shooting was happening, they were told by police to get far away from the school because they believed that there was somebody on the roof with a gun. Some people claim that they even saw somebody aiming with a gun on the roof. I honestly don't believe this at all, just simply because of the fact that I just don't believe it. It's because it just doesn't make sense. I mean, they said it was a repairman. Why would the police lie about it? Now, this is where it gets interesting. Now, a lot of people have been talking about other people, okay? They've been talking about seeing, like, up to 5 different gunmen walking together. One guy that was being referred to by the other gunmen as Joe. One guy that was just simply throwing pipe bombs and wasn't actually shooting anybody. He was just throwing pipe bombs onto the roof of the building during the shooting. People said that they saw Eric Harris was somebody else that was not Dylan Klebold, even though I believe that it was just a mistaken identity. There's this one kid, I'm not going to give out his name because I think he gets enough hate as it is, but I believe his last name was Perry, and he kind of resembles Dylan Klebold to a point. I mean, you can definitely tell the difference, but I mean, think about it. If you're being shot at, you're seeing people all around you being murdered, and the school is under attack by gunmen, do you really think that you're going to be able to sit there and identify those killers right away? I mean, odds are, if you don't know Eric and Dylan really well, like some of the people there did identify both of them as the shooters, you may make a mistake. And, you know, there was people that saying, like, there was, you know, a shooter in camo pants, there was a shooter in baggy pants, there was a third person in a trench coat, but it was a cheaper trench coat, not as nice as Eric and Dylan's. There was people saying that there was even a guy with, like, frosted spike tips, which was a thing in the 90s. And if you're a 90s kid, you'll remember, I do. And apparently he also had, like, a black face mask. Now, the reason I'm going to say that I don't believe in this conspiracy theory is 2 reasons. Number one eyewitness claimed that all 4 out of 5, like 4 out of 5, or they claim that there was 4 in total, but regardless, they claim that 4 gunmen went into the library at the same time. I mean, not the library, at the cafeteria at the same time and started shooting into the crowd. Here's the problem I have with that. There was a security camera rolling at the time that the attacks began in the cafeteria. It's all on tape. You can view it right now on YouTube. You can go view it right now. And you will never see more than just Eric and Dylan shooting and throwing stuff. Throwing pipe bombs and starting stuff on fire and all that other kind of shit. There's never anybody else there. There's nobody suspicious on the tape that doesn't seem to be scared. Everybody's running except for those 2 people, Eric and Dylan. You know, and they claim that they all went in there, and then they all went into the library. And that's another thing. All the survivors in the library, they all have identified Eric and Dylan as being the 2 sole shooters. Now, 1 or 2 of the people in the library did say that they didn't believe that the other person was Dylan, but they definitely knew one was Eric Harris, but they weren't sure if it was Dylan or that other kid that I mentioned earlier in the video. Well, I mean, obviously they kind of look similar. I mean, if you do enough research, you can find that other kid I'm talking about, and they do resemble each other to a point. Like I said, if you're in a panic, you're being shot at, you're trying to survive, you don't know if you're going to live or die, you could mistake something. There are plenty of mistakes. You know, people seeing somebody in camo pants. Well, maybe that person was walking near the gunman trying to get away. Or, you know, who knows? Maybe there's some stuff between the gunman and some of the survivors that we don't know that happened. And maybe those people don't want to come forward. Maybe the gunman knew them and they weren't targeting them. Maybe they were allowing that person. Maybe that person was talking to them, saying, "Whoa, why are you doing this? Why are you killing everybody? What's your end game here?" And that could have happened, and those people may just be too scared to come forward because they don't want to be charged with anything. You know, they don't want the cops to say, well, you were talking to them, and you weren't stopping them, you weren't a hero, and all this stuff. And maybe that's another thing. Maybe they don't want to be looked at as cowards. So I'm not saying that they didn't see more than one person with the gunman, but maybe they were friends of the gunman that the gunman didn't want to kill. Maybe they knew Eric and Dylan, and maybe they were just trying to talk them down, or maybe they were just talking to him as they were killing people, saying, you know, dude, what are you doing? You know, there's no way out of this. You're not going to walk away. And maybe they, you know, obviously they knew that. The second thing I have a problem with this is, why were Eric and Dylan the only two to kill themselves? Why were they the only two suicides in that? Let's say that this theory is true. Let's say that there were 4. Hell, let's even say there was 5 gunmen. Why didn't they all just go up to the library together and all commit suicide together? Eric and Dylan committed suicide together. It's very well accepted that they committed suicide. Some people believe that Eric killed Dylan. I don't believe that. I believe that they both offed themselves together. It was always the plan. They made that plan in advance, that the only way out was prison, which both of those kids would have never survived in, or suicide, which obviously they chose the latter. So why didn't they all just go up there and commit suicide together? It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, it doesn't. Now, there was another theory that there is this group, and I think there was 3 groups. I mean, 3 groups. There's 3 people in this group, and they were ascending onto the school during the shooting. And then, as they turned around and were leaving, the cops noticed them, hauled ass to them, and arrested them, thinking that they were involved, thinking that they were sneaking away and that they were gunmen. Well, people recognized them. One of them had camo pants, and the other 2 looked kind of similar to people that would be hanging out with Eric and Dylan. So there, once again, I think that some of the victims noticed these guys in the distance and thought that they were part of the killings. Now, they explained that they heard about the shootings on the radio and that they came over just to see it because they knew who Eric and Dylan were, and they kind of already knew that it was them. However, it is well known that it wasn't on the radio at the time. But that doesn't mean anything. I mean, maybe these guys were just nearby and saw all the commotion and were like, whoa, what's going on at Columbine? So they walked over and they're like, holy shit, they're actually killing people. You know, I could go on and on and on. But I think that, you know, the Columbine conspiracy, that there was more than one shooter, that there was a third shooter, or that there were up to 5 attackers, I think it's just a case of mass hysteria. I think, you know, you just had a ton of kids there that were just panicking. They were trying to get away. They were trying to survive. And I think it was just a fear for their lives, and none of them were really thinking straight. Hell, I could have made that mistake and said, no, there was a third shooter, and I may have even truly believed it, but that doesn't mean it's real. Like I said, there's just not enough to really add up or make sense. And thirdly, why would the cops be so hell-bent on only having Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold? Believe me, if there was more shooters and they knew that, they would have a manhunt going on. They would. They would never allow somebody to get away with you know, a mass killing. And that's another thing I have a problem with. If you want to get into how many people were killed that day, 13 in total, not including Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, why were there only 13 victims if there was 5 people shooting people? There would be a lot more casualties. Believe me, there would be a lot more dead people there. But because there was only 2 gunmen, Eric and Dylan, they did quite the damage, but they were only able to kill so many because it was just them 2 with kind of shitty weapons. Whereas if they had 5 people and they all had their own weapons, one guy that's just throwing pipe bombs, why didn't he throw pipe bombs at people? Why was he throwing them on the roof of the building? That just doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, so it's really interesting, and then there was this one witness that said that they saw one of them smiling and their teeth were all crooked and they had really bad acne. Well, neither Eric nor Dylan had bad acne, and neither one of them had a reputation of having crooked and fucked up teeth, but that doesn't mean anything. I mean, that maybe somebody supported what they were doing. That doesn't mean that they're a criminal. Yeah, they may lack morals and all this stuff, but that doesn't make them a shooter. That doesn't make them an attacker, and that doesn't surely make them a murderer. It just makes them a pretty shitty person. And then lastly, there was a person that said that one of the people, I think it was that kid that I was talking about earlier that some people believe was in on it, he just started kind of laughing as the killings were happening, and he's like, oh my god, I can't believe they're actually doing it. And I can't believe they chose today to do it. So, I mean, maybe that is true, but you know what? Maybe he just knew them and just was like, oh my god, they're actually doing it. Holy shit, Maybe he was in on the Trenchcoat Mafia thing that these two were a part of. A lot of people that were members of that said, yeah, that is definitely... that there was this one girl that was a member, and she left in December of 1998, so just a few months before the attacks, and she said that they had been planning it and that she was in on it at one point, but she left because she didn't want to be a part of it. She didn't want to go kill a bunch of people and then commit suicide. And so yeah, maybe this guy, maybe he was in on it too, but he backed out. Maybe he's like, no, I can't do that. And Eric and Dylan were the only two that actually went through with the plan. I mean, it's a complete possibility. But I could go on and on about this for an hour. Anyway, guys, this is the Keith Carnes. You can let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you believe the conspiracy that there was more than just the two shooters that we know, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold? Or do you think that this is just... Do you agree with me and just think that this is a big case of misidentity and misinformation? It's up to you guys. Leave it in the comments. I'd love to have a conversation with you guys about this. I will see you guys in the next one. And yeah, that's about it. So take it easy, and I will see you guys later.